the pervasive idea is you have this balance sheet almost, and as long as you get enough in the right column that you've acted a certain way, then you can earn heaven, or if you have a deficiency and you have too much in the other column, you go to hell. This is more about who you become. Today, it's easy to get the sense that Christianity is nothing more than this external God placing this arbitrary rules on his creation. And these rules are, if you follow them, you're rewarded with heaven. And if you don't follow them, you're rewarded with the other place. And there's a danger to that mentality.
Yeah, it's very problematic.
It is. It's not even remotely correct. And it's dangerous because first it creates this motivation of fear.
Which isn't necessarily the worst place to start, but it's far below the gospel ideal.
I mean, that is a good point. Fear can be a pretty strong motivator in life, but it can be dangerous. And more importantly, what this mindset can do is it can create this view that you can earn heaven. Mm-hmm. If you follow X, Y, Z, these arbitrary rules, you get rewarded with heaven. That can become contractual. So it can seem like your relationship with God is based on what you do. And if, as long as you've done your part of the bargain, he has to uphold his part of the bargain.
You've put him in your debt, and grace just goes out the window.
Yes.
And we can contrast that with the way that Lewis describes Christianity, especially in Mere Christianity, but I'd actually say in all of his books, there's this idea that comes up again and again, probably my most central part of his thought, at least for me. And that's the idea that there are no small choices. There are no small actions. Each of the things that we do changes us deep down, that central inside part of ourselves. He says, every time you make a choice, you are turning the central part of you, the part that chooses, into something a little different than what it was before. You are slowly turning the central thing either into a heavenly creature or into a hellish creature, either into a creature that is in harmony with God and with other creatures and with itself, or else into one that is in a state of war and hatred with God, and with its fellow creatures, and with itself.
And that's a very ontological way of thinking about the Christian story, thinking about the way we inherit or earn heaven.
We don't earn it.
Well, exactly. It's about becoming the type of person. So the pervasive idea is you have this balance sheet almost, and as long as you get enough in the right column that you've acted a certain way, then you can earn heaven, or if you have a deficiency and you have too much in the other column, you go to hell. This is more about who you become. And are you the type of person that says yes with all of your might to God, that you desire him, you desire his will, you want to be with him in eternity, to participate in that divine life he gives you. And so your actions are slowly steering you towards becoming a person that wants heaven, not a person that earns heaven. In this, when I first heard this idea, this heavenly hellish creature, these small choices, it revolutionized my way of thinking about Christianity, heaven, hell, and ultimately sin. And when you ask yourself, what is sin? This applies completely to it, because when you look at it this way, sin is just pushing yourself away from God. It's when your decisions are taking you the wrong way. And it's when you're ultimately choosing something other than God.
Yeah, or making something other than God the greatest good. In Mere Christianity, Lewis enumerates the tragedies of mankind and says that this is the long, sad tale of mankind trying to find something other than God to make him happy.
That's such a good quote. I mean, human history is just plagued with that. My own life is plagued with that, to be honest. When I look at everything that's brought me from childhood to here, most of it is choosing something other than God and leaving me unhappy and creating chaos in my life. And I love Augustine. He talks so much about this idea of disordered love. Sin is nothing more than disordered love. Everything we do tends to be rooted in love, but either love misplaced in the wrong way, towards the wrong thing, to the wrong degree. And when we're screwing up, we're sinning, we think we're doing something right. We're not actually telling ourselves, I'm going to sin, I'm going to do this. It's just choosing something in the wrong way.
But when I choose God, I become a little bit more like Christ.
Yeah.
And when I choose something other than God, I become a little bit more like Satan.
It brings up another quote from C.S. Lewis. That's so good. It says, going off of what you just said, to be the one kind of creature is heaven. That is, it is joy and peace and knowledge and power. To be the other means madness, horror, idiocy, rage, impotence, and eternal loneliness. And isn't that what hell is? Complete separation from God, choosing something other than Him for eternity. Or as Lewis puts it, eternal loneliness.
And I think that's beautifully shown in his other book, The Great Divorce. Probably my favorite of all of his
It's
books.
brilliant.
But in it, you have all of these souls who are on the very edge of heaven, and they're being invited in. And in chapter after chapter, we see them choose something other than heaven, because they actually don't even want heaven. They want something else more.
Yeah, they want heaven on their own terms. And there's one chapter that sticks out to me that's just, it'll pierce you. There's this mother that has the chance to get into heaven, but she wants to see her son more than anything, to the point where she overly loves her son more than she loves God.
Well, it's even ceased being love at this point, because it's just become so distorted.
Yeah.
But she's made her son greater than God, so she's now a creature that doesn't even want heaven.
Yeah.
She would feel happier if he were with her down in hell.
Which on the surface just seems like love. That doesn't seem like that big of a deal, like something that would keep you from getting into heaven. In fact, it makes you think that would be something that would get you into heaven, being extra loving. But I like how you point out it's not true love. And when I read that book, the chapters just pierced me, because there's different ones that make you think, man, what are the things that are keeping me from choosing God, into putting Him first and aligning myself with Him.
Towards the end of the book, C.S. Lewis's character is talking to George MacDonald.
Who was a big influence in his life, and a real person is George MacDonald too.
Yeah, when he read Fantastes, I think it was.
Yeah.
George says this: there are only two kinds of people in the end: those who say to God, "Thy will be done," and those to whom God says, "Thy will be done." All that are in hell choose it. Without that self-choice, there could be no hell. No soul that seriously and constantly desires joy will ever miss it. Those who seek, find. To those who knock, it is opened.
Well, I say to saying to God, "Thy will be done."
And to seeking and knocking. Cheers.
Cheers. We want to thank you for watching this. David and I are incredibly passionate about the Christian faith. In our journey, we found there to be such truth and beauty in it. And if there's anything you disagree with, if there's anything you're struggling with that we just haven't talked about, we invite you to share that in the comments, and we would love the opportunity to address that, to do a video on it, because if you're struggling with it, probably others are.
And if you are an excellent sort of person who wants to go to heaven, please share this link.
It's that simple. We offer you heaven
that
for
easy.
very cheap.
But seriously, if you found one of our videos helpful, if it has helped you grow in your love and understanding of Christianity or C.S. Lewis, please share it with your friends. See you next time.
Further up.
Further in.
Cheers.